Hi guys, Master Indigo here, and today we are discussing Overkill's The Walking Dead. So we finally saw some gameplay on E3 2018, so I figured I would do a short video on what I thought about all the gameplay that we saw and so on. So first off, let's start with the basics. So Overkill's The Walking Dead was announced back in 2014, I think, and it was supposed to come out in like 2016. Then it got delayed to 2017, and then finally delayed to 2018, and now it has a release date for November 6th of 2018 in Europe, if I remember correctly, and it's gonna be a full price game. So is it gonna be worth it, and so on. So if I go to Steam US store, it's $59.99, but on Euro store it's $49.99, so there's some difference there. So it's not completely full price here in Finland, but it seems to be full price in most of the world, so we have to treat it like a full game. I mean, it's gonna be a full game, but is it gonna be worth the full price of $60? Anyways, the game started off with a different game engine that it currently uses, so maybe that had something to do why it took so long. It's using Unreal 4 engine now, and not the same engine as Payday, the diesel engine, which is utter trash. And first off, it was supposed to use Valhalla engine that Starbreeze bought for, I think it was like something like $7 million. And now Valhalla became a plugin for Unreal Engine, and it has something to do with the randomization elements, similar to Payday, that same missions can have different objectives in different places and so on. So first off, let's start with the UI elements, the HUD and so on. I think the stamina bar looks really weird. UI elements I want to start first, because those are something that can be fixed with quite short amount of time. Payday 2 saw first gameplay in something like March of 2013 and launched about 5 months later, so now we have about the same time before this game launches, something like 4 or 5 months. So there's still time. I think the HUD needs polishing, and that's something quite easy to do. It doesn't look super polished quite yet. I feel like the character icons you can see in the upper corner, they look too much like promo icons. And on some gameplay you can actually see the players are using the same characters. There's currently 4 characters, and each have different abilities or skills, whatever those are gonna be called perks. So I'm not sure if they are restricted to those characters, or can you make different builds with different characters, or why are these people playing with the same character? Because in Payday 2 you cannot do that. It will just randomly pick the next character or whatever you have in line. So maybe these are actually limited to those characters, and you'll have to have four of the same character at the same time if that's the meta. Anyways, the game seems to focus quite a lot on melee combat, at least during the slow moments, because you need to be quiet, bullets are harsh to find. So melee should be strong suit of the game. Is it? Well, it doesn't really look too good. It's a little bit better than Payday 2's combat melee wise, but it doesn't look amazing. That's a little bit worrying. If you are using your melee weapon big amount of time and it's on your screen, it should look great, but it really doesn't. It looks okay-ish. The animation in first person okay, but it doesn't really feel like you're doing anything. You just hit the enemy and that's it. Games like Dying Light and Dead Island, which could be compared to something like this, they have so much better combat, and both of those are full price games. So if we are gonna get a full-fledged zombie game and it's focusing on melee combat, and the melee combat isn't too great, what are you gonna do? That's a little bit worrying. So hopefully they can do something about the animations in melee combat and so on. Then we have firearms. There were like few firearms that were shown: MP5, sniper rifles, shotguns, and some pistols and revolvers, but mostly not too many weapons shown. I'm not sure how many weapons the full game is gonna have. Was likely quite a bit more than what this gameplay demo had on E3. The animation in first person look mostly nice. The models for the weapons are quite nice looking, but some of the animations might be, I hope they are placeholders because they look really similar to those in Payday 2, and if I wouldn't really be too surprised if they were straight from Payday 2, and that's why I'm hoping they're not lackluster placeholders, because using the same animations as from Payday 2 would make it look like it's kind of lazy from the developers. So I hope that they will balance out the animations, and that is something that doesn't take forever. I know animating is a long process, but they have 5 months to fix this, and animations is something I think needs a little bit more to do. Just like Payday, the first person animations are pretty good, but the third person animations are, well, stiff. They look janky, and you can see on the gameplay that enemies snap together to some spots that looks super weird, and it's gonna be weird to some players. I don't even know how to explain it. Just like Payday 2, weapons in hands, animations, reloading those in third person, it doesn't look exactly the same as third person. So yeah, I also love how the first gameplay trailer they released, it had like few seconds of gameplay, but it had this really goofy moment where they open a gate and walkers come through it, and the legs, they clip, and it looks really bad. And worry not, they released the exact same trailer on their official channel, except that scene, the camera is moved a little bit upwards, so you cannot see the legs anymore. Here's a side-by-side comparison.
We fight for more than survival. We fight to build a new life.
So I just thought that was a really fun way of fixing something that people complain about that looked a little bit weird. So I don't know. Let's talk about the levels. Levels itself look quite detailed. They look quite something like you would see in Payday. Maybe a little bit more detail, little props and things like that. But take a look at this scene. Doesn't this look like this could be straight from a Payday 2 map? I think it does. So it's quite clear that whoever's making maps for this game is most likely someone who has done quite a lot of work in Payday 2's or Payday the Heists map, because they are quite similar in style. Or maybe they are told to do maps this way. Who knows? Who knows? One thing you can also see that there's mostly no animations for interactions. There's a climbing animation, but that's basically if you are opening doors, opening bear traps and things like that, there's no animation, it's just press to hold, press F to open trap, just like Payday 2. So I think if they had 4 years, maybe they could have done some little animations for little things like this. But it's no biggie, it's no biggie. There's animations for something, as I said, climbing, and there's also whenever walkers get up your face, there's a stabbing animation. But I feel like that stabbing animation, it's gonna go old really quick. If you see that animation multiple times during one mission and you repeat missions for a few hours a day, you're gonna see that stabbing animations dozens of times a day, and that's gonna be really annoying. So I hope that's not too often that you have to encounter these stabbing animations to the face. It might look good on gameplay and trailers, but whenever you're doing gameplay, it interrupts your momentum and makes the game feel a little more sluggish than it even is. So some gameplay you can see in the background also showed a little bit of the information of the characters, maps and so on. So here's the loadout screen. I love how the weapon names are exactly the same as Payday 2. There's Platypus and so on, as you can see on the screen here. There's also kind of like a CrimeNet styled map where you choose the missions, kind of choose where in the town you are, and there you choose missions that seem to be kind of different versions of the same maps. Maybe there's Extraction, which is the objective based, kind of like Left 4 Dead map style, where you collect things, advance in the level. And also there seems to be some sort of horde mode where you have to survive and do something on a smaller area and do objectives there. It also seems like it's the same style as Payday 2. You pick your weapons pre-game and characters pre-game, and you cannot pick up your enemies' weapons. So once you choose your loadout, that's basically it. This will be a good thing for others and something people don't like to others. Maybe this will allow skills using different weapons, just like Payday 2, and different builds. I would like that, because builds having to choose different perks and things like that, I always love that. Some people like the Left 4 Dead style, where there's really nothing to do, just nothing to choose, you just repeat the same missions because it's fun. But I do like there being some depth in the game, choosing different builds, choosing different weapons, choosing your gear and so on. There's also this kind of like a Bane-like character sometimes in your missions yapping in your ear. Take a listen at this.
Get to the back gate. Get to the front gate. They're coming through the broken alley gate. Go repair it.
Repair the gate. Go to the gate. So that's something that's also quite similar to Payday. I'm not sure if this is as bad as in this clip on most missions, but currently it sounds like there's somebody yapping in your ear, just like Payday 2. So if you're not too keen on Bane, this is gonna be a little different, because it's a different voice actor obviously, but there's still gonna be Bane yapping in your ear, even though it's gonna be a different name character. Anyways, you can see in some of the gameplay it's really weird. If there's a zombie less than 10 meters away from you, you shoot them with a shotgun into the head. They don't die. I feel like a shotgun is a really powerful weapon. There's a zombie 5-7 meters away from you. You shoot them in the head, then they're just a weak zombie. They should die from that. If there's armored enemies with the combat gear, okay, those can be harder to kill, maybe 2 headshots or something like that. But normal enemies, normal zombies, they should die from a shotgun blast to the head, at least on this range. So the gameplay loop seems to be stealth, kill walkers, zombies, collect some resources that are needed, use those resources to build some elements on the map, like generators, or craft the different things like bandages and so on. So in these parts it seems like it's slow paced in most parts. You have to avoid traps. There's bad traps, you can get trapped in those, and also the enemies, walkers, I assume can get trapped on those, or walkers I know can get trapped those, but there's human enemies as well, so I assume those can get trapped on the traps as well. There's also some interesting details. The weapons can jam, and you need to unjam them. It's basically pressing a button. This reminds me of Far Cry 2. Far Cry 2 had elements where weapons can jam. This is quite realistic. If the bullet is wrongly inserted into the weapon, this can happen, especially with automatic weapons quite often. It's stuck there and you have to unjam it. So it's not often seen in video games, but if you have shot with real weapons, you know how this can happen. So it can be an interesting gameplay mechanic, but if it's done too often, just like the stabbing animation to the head close up, it can be a little bit annoying. This doesn't interrupt the gameplay in the same way, because you can still move around and you are not stuck with a zombie in your face, but you have to look for cover where you go and jump your weapon and so on. Currently, I'm optimistic of this game. It looks okay. It doesn't look amazing, but Payday 2 wasn't amazing at launch. It was fun. I've played, what, 1,500 hours of Payday 2, and most of that is post-launch, obviously. All of that is post-launch, but most of that is after it had received numerous DLC maps, numerous new weapons and so on. So Payday 2 received amazing updates and new heists with DLC, both free and paid. I hope that continues with this game. I'm not sure what DLC model this game will follow. It will be a full price game, so hopefully they are gonna release some cheaper DLCs. And are you gonna do the whole season pass thing, Overkill? It's not really too often you see season passes this year. There's not one in Battlefield 5. There's not gonna be one in many other games, so maybe season pass is not the strong thing. Maybe customization? I don't know. There's also quite a lot of zombie games coming out once again. There was a quiet time when there wasn't too many zombie games, but it took so long for this game to come out that now there's also again some competition. There's Dying Light 2 coming out, which is also a co-op game, and that looks really good. It's also a full price game, so these two are competing right next to each other. To be honest, I would say Dying Light 2 looks better. by a lot. But am I gonna play which game more? That is up to whatever feels more fun. There's also another 4-player co-op zombie game that looks quite fun. We'll see. It's third person and the gameplay loop is a little bit different, but it's also quite fun looking. Anyways, that's basically all for this video. Just my first impressions of the gameplay we have seen on the E3 platforms, on different streams and so on. So what do you guys think of Overkill's Walking Dead, what we have seen so far? Tell me in the comments, are you impressed? Are you disappointed? Are you gonna buy this game? The pre-orders are live. So anyways, I hope you guys are all having a good day. I'll see you next time, whenever that is. Master Indigo, signing out.